How come this is episode 6, right?
Really?
Isn't it?
Wait,
Is it? Carlos is nodding.
What was the stat that you said?
99% of podcasts don't make it past episode 30.
What?
99% between the 1%. Welcome in.
The haters love to see it, bro. And the haters are lurking, brother.
They
the
are
haters are
lurking.
Oh, we have to tell Carlos about that too later.
Oh, shit, Carlos. One of
Carlos.
my ex-boyfriends hate commented on one of our TikToks.
Oh, she said it. Oh, she said it.
Hi, Shania.
Hey, Meg.
I'm kind of in the mood for something like...
They're lurking, bro.
They're lurking. I honestly, when we started, I was like, yeah, my ex-boyfriends will probably listen.
Haters are pressed. Like, they're pressed.
They are.
But, like, I would be...
You wouldn't tell by looking at us.
I would be pressed if I was one of our haters.
That's true. Dude, that
That's
would
true.
suck. Imagine
I
being one of our
know.
haters.
That's why it's like, if you can't... What is it?
If you can't beat them,
join them.
This is a new setup. I
Yeah.
feel like they're going to be like, whoa.
You're like, oh my God.
For the auditory listener,
yeah, true.
we're in our new studio space. We
Shout
have
out.
sexy new mics. We're basically Brooke and Tan.
And literally, like, started over. Yeah, did you see they're, like, 5th on overall, like, podcasts in general?
Really?
They're above Call Her Daddy on the
Really?
rankings. Yeah, Call Her Daddy's 23 right now, and they're, like, 5th.
I just saw that her Call Her Daddy's contract's about to expire.
And she's
about
gonna
sign
get $100 million.
That's
Meg and I saw that. We're like,
board.
we'll sit down and we'll yap a little
Give us
bit.
a check.
Literally, give me a check. I'll take the 40 mil, honestly.
Honestly, I'll settle for 40
we can work it. Also, she has a billionaire boyfriend, so I'm like, she doesn't.
Husband.
Husband.
Did she sign a prenup? We don't know.
That's a good question.
Did she have more money
I'm
than
sure
him?
she did. No, for sure.
For sure, no,
He's-
really?
He's like entertainment daddy. I've heard. Like he's like in the
wow.
industry, like
Weird.
a real billionaire, not like
Not like a
famous
female
person.
billionaire.
like the
I'm being so
CEO of yeah. No. You're trying to get me riled up, and let me tell you, I am riled up. Literally, you're like having a day when like on my drive over here, I'm like in the freeway, I'm going like 75 miles an hour, putting in an earring with like my nails are like an inch and a half right now, and like holding the steering wheel.
Safe
with
driving.
Literally, holding the steering. Yeah, this might be incriminating. Holding the steering wheel with my knee, and I just was like, a man could never. That's all I was thinking. And so I was like, you've never even tried.
You have to
You
have
ever
a
done a
vagina.
full beat driving 85 miles down Mulholland Drive, bitch? Because I haven't. Try pushing a
Give it a
fucking
shot.
baby out of your fucking pussy. Like, what?
I can't.
Anyway, so
I
that's like,
literally can't.
those are my vibes.
Sorry.
I'm like trying to put my fucking
Charlie
earring in.
XX is so loud.
I'm like,
No thoughts can get in.
literally, I'm just like suiting up.
That's funny.
So those are my vibes today.
Yeah, I feel those vibes.
You're with me?
I feel that way. I feel just. I think it feels like a slumber party episode, like you said.
Totally.
Honestly, it looks so.
I'm
cute.
happy
your
to
hair's
be
getting
here
longer now. It
I
looks
know.
So
I'm
cute.
excited about her.
Every time your hair gets longer, though, I send you a pixie cut.
I know you
And it fucks your
always
shit up. I'm
do, and I'm
sorry.
like-
I'm sorry.
Because my thing is like, but I don't want to be so like black and white about it. But I'm like, once I like start to like grow it out, then it's
gonna
like,
be so
oh, I don't-
honestly,
I'm like, is this the last time I'll ever have a pixie cut? That's dramatic, but like, you know,
I think it looks so good on you. That would be a disservice to society.
oh my god.
But I think the dawn of the mini bang is nearing.
it's happening.
I think it's about time.
but I could be down like a couple of little braids and like,
Oh, that's really cute.
You know, like
I
a
know, but I
little
want you to have
shag.
like a little mini
no,
bang.
the mini bang. I'm excited for like long hair in a mini bang because I've only
true.
had the mini bang with the pixie, which is like natural.
Yeah.
But like I could do a little shag with like a teeny weenie.
That's really cute.
Alexa did that, and she had like little pigtails and shit like that, and it was
so
like,
cute.
the moment. So the mini bangs just like stay forever.
Love.
Forever?
I don't know.
That's dramatic. Just relax. The moon, it's right now we're in a full moon
It's a
in
full moon
Capricorn.
tonight.
Yes.
That's why it feels like a slumber party.
Yeah, totally. We're like little werewolves under the
Woo!
moon now. Woo! Are we recording? I'm like crazy.
We're
right
recording.
now.
Bro.
We're definitely
I know. Should we
recording.
get into it? You're like mini bangs and the moons in Capricorn and Alexa.
I know. I feel like it's been like a bit. Oh, we have to talk about the presidents of the United States of America, brother. Oh, brother. Your hair is so cute in the back. It's like a little
thank you.
60s, like,
It's called a French pin.
oh my God, of course. Okay, so President
Boom.
Biden just stepped down.
He should have done that fucking 15 years ago.
You guys, I feel like we're all in like a group project, but it's not even we. I'm not like with all these messy Democrats. Like, I don't know what you bitches are doing, but like it's a messy last minute group project. And it's because none of you fucking bitches want to talk about anything. No. And so now all of a sudden, what are we gonna do? Oh no, like the guy we've all been like writing for the last like fucking 5 years, it turns out to be like a fucking war criminal
than old.
and like literally about to die, and we like don't like him, but we like didn't want to talk about it. So then we were like, oh no, and then he was like, literally, he's probably like dead. I bet he's like,
he's
gonna be in a coma like tomorrow. They're gonna be like, and now we've buried him.
Oh my god.
Right?
Talking in the political discussion, I feel like we haven't talked about that Trump got shot at also.
Oh my god.
And my first thought was like, how envious I am of people watching the TV when like Kennedy was shot or something, like witnessing that moment in like in television history and also like American political history, whatever. But like, could you imagine we're alive at the time and also have a podcast when a future president's gonna get assassinated, a former president,
and
hopefully
we
not
do.
future.
We do.
No, but what if his head got blown off?
Oh, if he actually died. I know. Have you seen those like you've seen the mapped
renderings?
out? Yes, bro, where it's like he missed it but that's some Illuminati shit.
Yeah, that is some Illuminati shit.
That is like the shit where it's like he's paying God to like, and that's why I'm like, I think he's gonna win. What do you think? We should put in like predictions now.
I think he will, but I think you said a really good point that was like, we have to have anarchy in order for like white Democrats to feel something.
Yeah, but then like lately I've just been kind of comfortable and I'm like, we need to like get together and like figure our stuff out, but we just don't. So
like,
that's
anyway,
a whole mess.
I really think I should get mini bangs.
I know, but anyways, the shag is coming. The braids are gonna be so cute. Like, get excited. My straightener is coming out. Carlos has key cards for us now. Let's fucking go. You guys, we are leveling the fuck up.
This is basically
Joe
SNL at this
Rogan.
point.
Joe Rogan.
Watch your
we're
fucking
coming
ass.
for you, bro. We got key cards. Like,
We got key cards? Cute
they're
cards.
not cute. Oh yeah.
Key cards.
What are
I like
key
Kiki though,
cards?
because it's like Kiki.
They're like our little key cards.
Okay, speaking of
Crazy.
losing Joe Biden.
What's
pretend like
happening
he's-
next? Are we talking about old white people?
Yes.
Okay.
We lost Shelley Duvall.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. That was a terrible segue.
It's factual.
Yeah, totally.
She was an old white
She
lady.
was old white lady.
She was also
She
very
died.
beautiful.
It's amazing.
And had an amazing career.
Creative, cool.
Gave us lots of things. Fashion inspo,
to be
performances.
completely honest with
Yeah,
you.
fair.
I've never seen anything she's been in. I've heard the name.
But this is what
I
love.
knew it was a big deal.
Yeah, you did.
I don't know who she is.
That's so valid because also like I think that's what's important is
That's
like there's a percentage of people who like watch movies from before they were born and there's a percentage that don't do that.
Yeah.
And like that's totally fucking valid.
There's no world in which like my father sat me down and was like,
Here's
and
Popeye.
like, we're gonna watch
Here's
Shelley.
Stanley Kubrick.
Like
The
it
Shining.
just I don't know.
So you haven't seen The Shining?
No.
That's okay.
Oh, is that what she's like?
That was her big role that I kind of found out about her when I was like getting a little bit more into movies and stuff, and I found out that was a female performance in like the horror genre where it's a beautifully performed piece, but that's due in part to her talent and also due in part to her being abused by the director on set. So he was like very mentally abusive towards her, isolated her, said no one can talk to Shelley, no one can feel bad for her, don't give her any sympathy or any, and they're like a
for
way,
the sake of like the performance.
for this horror. She plays a woman who's a victim of domestic violence against the main character, Jack Nicholson. And it's also a horror movie, so there's like crazy shit happening too, but she just has like this like, it's one of like go moments of her just like breaking down the whole movie. It's so long, and Kubrick would make her do like 70 takes of this one sobbing scene over and over. She was hospitalized after the performance. And a lot of people credit that to her career going in a different direction than was projected. I think a lot was at play. I think she had a lot of things happen in the industry to her, especially being like a young woman at the time. And she kind of fell into it because of her talent and beauty, but didn't really have the support system. So
in a different direction, how like declined?
yeah, in a way. Just stopped doing as much projects as you kind of thought would happen. And she did fairy tale theater after, which we're going to talk about.
happened after.
That's
Okay.
post The Shining. So
Cool.
that's actually,
And
No,
she's like,
that is after.
she's like an executive producer. She's like
Created it.
running the whole thing.
Yeah, she said she had to like grovel and beg to have people play in the cast. So she had like all the 80s like hit makers in it.
Bro.
Which is so cool. But she's kind of, her career oftentimes, especially from like the film bro rhetoric, has been boiled down to that performance in that moment, which is really sad because she did so much more than that. And it's a fucking amazing performance. And at the time she won a Razzie. You know what the Razzies are? That's like the antithesis of the Oscars. So people get these awards for being terrible. It's awful performances. I know. So they won it. She won it. They made fun of her for which is batshit crazy. Because if anyone has eyes and sees this, you're like, she's a god working. And then years later, when it came out that Kubrick had an abusive directorial pace, that the Razzies redacted it and was like, we weren't aware that this was happening, but it's also like, they're like, redacted because you were wrong also, though. Anyway. Yeah. So that was one of the first like female actresses that I really loved a performance of, and then found out that the director was doing like awful things behind the scenes. And so it was a big moment for me being like, oh,
this
like,
is what happens to women.
I'm like, oh shit,
You're like,
oh no. Anyway, but
Yeah.
I remember her in Popeye with Robin Williams. She was really cute in that. That reminded me of your Betty Boop Halloween costume.
Yeah, that's super fun.
Super cute.
That's really fun.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then-
speaking of Robin Williams.
Oh yeah, no, great. But I also remember seeing, in like, I haven't thought about it until she passed, and it kind of resurrected like fairy tale theater and stuff, because it's from like the early to mid 80s. But I remember being in Blockbuster with my grandparents and seeing the covers and being like, I don't know.
Fairy tales?
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but that looks kind of crazy. I didn't watch it ever, but
Yeah, me neither.
I was
obviously.
definitely like, whoa, what the fuck?
Yeah. No, watching these, what are they, movie?
Yeah, it's like a series.
Yeah.
It was on cable television.
Oh, that's fucking sick. No, watching it, I was like, if I was a kid, I would like fucking
Right?
love this.
I wanna fall
This
asleep
is
to
my
those.
shit. Yeah, I thought the same thing.
I really
but then
liked it.
watching Aladdin, I was like, it was scary. Even aside from all the like whatever, what's it called?
Race?
Yeah. What's it called? Even aside from all that, it just was like the genie was really scary.
Yeah, bro. You know who that was? I didn't know this. That was Darth Vader.
What?
Yeah, that was fuck. I don't remember his name. He
This
played
is where
Darth
you're
Vader.
stranded on an island.
I know,
Here.
I'm like, oh,
I'm
no.
not even gonna try to think.
Shit, everyone's gonna be like, it's this, bro. Anyway, it's Darth Vader.
He's probably super famous.
He's famous as fuck. And what's his name? I'm not. It's gonna.
You want me
piss
to look
off.
it up? I have my phone. You don't
Sure,
care
just
that much.
ask James Earl
let's
Jones.
go.
He's a great actor.
Fire.
He was pretty nuts as the
He was
genie.
Spooktown.
All blue and shit. He had like his teeth were like sparkly.
It was insane. It was crazy.
Should we go one by
Let's
one?
start with Robin Williams
Start with
as
the
a
good,
frog.
and then we'll go to the bad and the ugly, perhaps.
Bro, go to the bad and the ugly.
Okay, Robin Williams plays the Frog Prince in the Princess and the Frog version of it. Okay, were you at all like attracted to him when he played that role?
No.
Okay, me neither. I don't. It's okay.
It's okay if you were. Please tell us.
No, I just was wondering if that would be something you would.
You
think.
were. What
There
did
is
it?
something about it.
Oh.
Not that specific role. It's anything he does.
Yeah. I love him. Oh my God. Daddy is fuck.
Right?
Yeah.
But there's the scene. First of all, also, I just love when he's like chopping it up with the princess.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
the
yeah.
confidence.
When he's
And then-
sitting on the well
Yeah,
and shit.
First of all, the forced
Riz
perspective in
as
that
fuck.
was crazy.
Yeah, what are they called? Like tangible effects. Like the
Yes.
effects are IRL in
It
front
was
of you.
amazing.
He's dressed head to toe. He's wearing. You can like.
You wouldn't know it's him.
You can. I know. Which I was like. It's kind of crazy that like we don't get to see Robin Williams' face
really
this whole
sad.
time. I was like, where's his acting? Like, I want to see what
But
he's
then he
doing
starts
it.
talking, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh,
yeah. He's like doing some shit.
He does.
But he's in a full frog mask, you guys. You can literally hear the mask is like affecting his mic, bro. Like, and he's in like a full green bodysuit, head to toe. He's got this little belly. He's like,
I love him.
and he's like tiny, like walking around the table.
I don't care. He was hot as fuck.
That is crazy.
I don't care.
That's a crazy take,
That's
bro.
my new
I'm
celebrity
down.
crush.
Literally.
He did that whole stand-up routine in front of the whole dinner when they were trying to cook his
yeah,
ass.
I loved that.
I was like, yes.
Yes, literally.
He's like talking to the princess.
Yeah.
Then he said to the princess, do you remember this line? I know you made a mental note of it. He said, like, you're very beautiful in your own bitchy way.
Yes,
And I was like,
did
what?
make a note of that. I was like, did he just say?
Okay, and then he's naked.
I know. Okay, the ending, I was shocked. The ending, I was like, yeah, but it's the 80s. Like, I guess they just like did shit.
Them like making out and shit.
The fact that he's like naked, they're literally about to fuck in her bed.
That was hot.
It was.
Like, I don't know.
It
kind of was.
His hair, like the long hair for me,
You didn't
it
fuck
just
with the
was
wig,
like,
but it's
yeah, it
Robin.
was too
I don't know. I
much.
feel like
You love Robin Williams.
I really do. I never realized that.
Yeah, you're like watching your Meg's having like a sexual revelation watching the Frog
The
Prince.
frog was crazy.
That's crazy.
I loved him. Wait, I had something else to say. Okay, you ready for this one?
I don't know if I am, honestly. After that.
Me neither. We need to come up with a segment where it's like, did you know that this was this actor? What's that called? That's an Easter egg for later. The fucking guy, first of all, why was he had a fake nose? But the king in the beginning, the Prince Frog's father, you know who that is? That's Kramer. Bro, that's Michael Richards from Seinfeld.
What?
Yes, dude, for sure. He has a whole different face. Don't know
Literally
why.
a different face. Is he wearing a wig? Am I tripping?
He's wearing a wig. He has
Yeah.
a different nose too, which is problematic in a different way.
Crazy.
But he started talking, and I was like, "Wait, who? Like, who is that?" And then he yelled, and I was like, "Kramer!"
Oh my
What are you doing
god,
here? Isn't
that's
that
crazy. Yeah, that's part of why it's so like fever dreamy. Is because
Yes.
it's like all these people, and you're like,
From
even
the
the girl who
80s?
played the princess. I kind of was like, who the fuck is that? I feel like
I
I've
knew
seen
her
before.
This is dumb. This segment sucks. She plays Phoebe's mom in Friends for like 2 episodes.
Oh,
That's
bro,
how I
like
knew her.
literally, I'm like, you seem kind of familiar.
Yeah,
like
I've
I've
seen her once or twice.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, these
crazy.
80s icons. I bet like people of our parents' generation would be like, "What? That's Michael Richards."
Like,
Like, you didn't recognize him with a fake face.
I know, literally. Yeah, that's
Anyway.
so true.
I enjoyed it. I think the production design is interesting.
Really interesting.
It's so interesting how the pacing of things like pre-millennium are so slow.
So slow.
It's crazy.
That's what I was thinking the whole time. Is I was like, nobody would get together and make a 57-minute
so
long play / movie about like this like
Yeah.
random story. Like it just
Yeah.
was like like. But I really appreciated that. Like the theater
Yeah.
kid in me, like
It's not brain rot at all.
Literally, they were like, "Here, like, let's do this.
Yeah,
let's
bedtime
really
story for
do it."
children.
Literally,
I really liked it, but it was an interesting, like, this would never be made today. Like,
Yeah.
it's so slow. It had a couple little moments. Dude, it was directed by, his name's Eric something, but he's like one of the leaders of Monty Python.
that's
You know
cool.
Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
Like the play.
That's a fun, that the play is based on the movie that he is in, but it felt like that to me. Like, there's like moments of humor, and it's also set in like the medieval ages too.
Yeah,
So like,
yeah,
I
yeah.
love that
Yeah.
setting is really
Yeah.
like the castle. I just want to be like a snobby princess.
I know, me too.
Anyway.
I also like, I don't know. I thought it was interesting. Like they're also mad at her for being vain, but I was like, I feel like she's bringing like a new perspective to the whole thing. Like I was like, listen to her.
Also, she's
a
getting
bitch.
married off, and everyone's like, "Oh, look how
Literally.
beautiful!" It's like, of course she's like that.
You're selling her away as like a piece of meat. Of course she's gonna be vain. Like
Care
that's
about what her hair looks like, duh.
literally, and then you're like
Yeah.
mad at her for that. Like that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
All that stuff is just really like.
Yeah, the conditioning is very there.
Oh my god. In both of them, I was like, ugh, bro, they hate women.
They hate women, and it's all white people.
It's all white people. It's mostly boys, and then you have
Yeah.
like 2 women, and they both like their characters are like
made of cardboard.
everybody hates them.
Yeah,
Like,
literally.
what?
That's so true. That's so
But
true.
Robin Williams fucking ate.
He fucking tore. Honestly, in the beginning, I was like, all right, not really, getting into it, whatever.
Yeah.
But then he came out in that little suit. It's just like, okay.
He came out in that little
The people
suit.
in the pictures are gonna be crazy. They're gonna be like, I'm like, hear me out. That's my craziest hear me out.
Yes.
It's
Bro.
him in that fucking frog suit. It's the energy.
That's
it's the clout. It's the
crazy.
Pete Davidson
Yeah.
of it all.
Yeah. He definitely has like BDE as fuck in that. As fuck. He's like walking around. He's like, I'm a little frog and you're going to kiss me,
He's
bitch.
like, let me sleep with you.
But also, I'm like, stop trying to get her to force you to kiss her. And then you like force her to go into your bed. You basically
Yeah.
blackmail her into letting
Literally.
you sleep with her.
Yeah.
And the end goal of sleeping with her the whole time is to kiss her.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're naked.
The scorpion fight too was crazy. Why
The
did that
scorpion
have to
fight came out
happen?
of nowhere. I literally think they just put that in so that they could be like, okay,
We had a scorpion
like,
prop, and they were like, let's just throw that in there.
Well, no, they're like, he has to redeem himself somehow. She has to like start liking
Yeah,
him.
the
There's
chivalry
no
must turn
reason
her
why
on.
she starts liking him, except
Yeah.
for the fact that he saves her.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. She didn't see what I
Which
saw.
again, it's literally
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
no. It just is so. It's literally. They're like, okay, convince her, and then she'll
Yeah,
like
this
it.
is how women are.
Literally,
Yeah, it's
she
stupid.
doesn't want to. She doesn't want to, and then all of a sudden, like you fucking kill
Yeah.
a scorpion, and she's like,
It was down as fuck.
And Meg's like,
make out with his frog. I was like, let's go. And then he's naked.
I know.
But that's the Monty Python effect too, where it's like Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I really like that. That to me is a childhood movie that
Funky,
holds up
cool,
well.
yeah,
like
fairy
there's
tales.
no women, but it's not especially disrespectful to them in different ways. Also, let's bring back calling bitches old crones because I love that.
Down.
I was like, can't
they call-
the
he
witch
called-
who cursed him? She's an old crone.
Oh,
And I was like,
yeah.
that is a term.
And her is like the ending clip too, and she's like,
I fuck with that.
"You're a funky lady, bro." All these
Made a
people, I
baby
was
a
like,
frog.
"You guys are funky."
But like,
Robin Williams too. I'm like, "You're funky for doing this shit."
Yeah.
What were you gonna say? Sorry.
no.
Old crone. Noted.
But I started watching Life of Brian is another Monty Python. So Monty Python was like a comedy troupe, like a British comedy troupe who did like multiple movies. Holy Grail, I think, is their most famous, and they have the musical. But then they did Life of Brian, which is about the birth of Jesus, which already like racist, but also there was like sexual violence towards women in the first 5 minutes, and I was like, how did we get here? Like, the motivation to make that the plot is so like Aladdin, same thing. It's like the motivation here is so insidious, and it ruins something that could be cool. And it's not at all. Less so with Aladdin. I think it'd be difficult to make that cool.
Well,
In the context of
honestly,
this, go
I
ahead.
have like really interesting
Okay, I'm
backstory
excited.
on the story of Aladdin because,
please, dude.
bro, yes, because I was watching it. So the second one we watched was Aladdin. We watched the Princess. What is it? The Princess and the Frog.
Princess and the Frog.
Is that what it was?
The Princess and the
Frog Prince?
It's the Frog Prince.
It's like different a little.
You're right,
bit.
the Frog Prince.
Anyways, and then we also watched Aladdin because I was just like,
We knew we
I
had
need
to.
to see. Like, I really was so
My
curious.
stomach feels too good right
Literally,
now.
I was like, let me fuck up my mood a little bit right now. Like, directed by Tim Burton. Like,
Fuck him.
The Tim Burton, like the Tim Burton.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Like the guy who everybody like, they
Yep.
love him. Okay.
Yep.
Anyways, so that was really, really interesting to watch. Really like Spook Towns. Fucking.
First of all, you won't even know it's Tim Burton aside from the racism. Like that's his calling card. But other than that, it's like, okay, so what do you bring to the table?
What's going on? I
What's
literally
happening?
don't.
It was
We
ass.
open on like a rainbow Taj Mahal, like
Yeah.
weird vibes, and they're like, long ago in some Eastern country. That's literally how they
crazy.
categorize
You're like,
it, and I'm
all
like,
right, here we go. Let's
okay.
buckle up.
And then you have all of these like Caucasian ass fucking women in like traditional Muslim like headdresses and like just so shocking to look at.
Can we back up for one quick second?
Yeah,
I want
yeah,
you to do this bad. You know when Shelley in the beginning goes, "Hello, I'm Shelley
Yeah,
Duvall."
yeah.
She
seems a little reserved in it. In that
First of
one
all,
for
she's
me.
dressed like the Kardashians in their new promo.
Yeah,
That
it's
was the
Dune
first thing
as
I
fuck.
thought.
You panning
She's
over
dressed
the
like
fucking
Dune, first of all.
Yeah.
But she did seem reserved.
Her hands were like in her lap, and she was like, "Today."
I know. It was definitely like, but that for me, I was like, and then whatever, keep going, and then the line. But the brown faces.
It's crazy. I'm like, okay, so you're like obsessed with the Eastern country, then like show us the. Anyways,
It's a bunch of ugly white people who don't know what they're talking about. Like, why?
it's crazy. Well, okay, my question is, did the racism like ruin it for you, or did it like? Because the rest of it, like the pacing and all that stuff, it felt very similar to me. Aside from like the nauseating, like
For sure.
But the acting, like the language, all that stuff was like so similar. I felt.
Yes, that's true. And the racism, yes, did ruin it for me.
Yeah.
I feel like the first one, while it was very whitewashed, it didn't have as much like overt racism in it.
Yeah.
So the things that I was like, that's a little weird, were more
Easier to
endearing
overlook,
and easier
yeah.
to overlook. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, like these 80s shit, like don't know how to pace things. Like
Yeah.
it's so cute that they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah,
Like,
whereas
it seems
this
like a
is, like-
dress rehearsal. Versus the Aladdin, I was like, you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's just
yeah.
like nothing about it is good. And also, I don't know why. I just like knew it was Tim Burton, so I was like, okay, Tim Burton, like talk your shit if you can do it. And then he couldn't, so then I was a little more jarred.
It's also like really I don't know. It was just like a different story than the Disney one, which was interesting.
It was.
Also, the genie was crazy. The genie really
was
like fucked it up
crazy.
for me because I was like, I didn't really.
You didn't like
how
Darth Vader's
Why was he
performance?
being so scary? I was like, and laughing too much.
I didn't.
Too
He
much
wasn't
giggling.
the right fit.
The whole time I'm like, nothing is funny right now. Like I'm not laughing.
No one's laughing, dude.
He literally comes out of the fucking genie bottle every time, and he's like, and then he's like, "You want me to do this? Okay, fine." I'm like, "What? Like, what is funny?"
I don't know. Also, one of the biggest movies for like one of the largest like movie corporations is this exact fucking shit in cartoon form. So
Literally.
it's like,
And they just made the live action remake like 5 years ago. That was crazy.
That is
all the
horseshit.
rage. It was all the rage, bro.
Yeah.
And then 2 years later, they like put their little like black screen like trigger warning on it.
Exactly. This is
like,
not appropriate.
But if you want to watch it, you still can.
We're gonna keep all our money from it.
like literally, I'm like, then this.
Literally, the Kardashians are dressing up like this, and Dune is happening. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It
Yeah.
provides a similar sense of like ickiness.
Yeah, and vagueness. That's what
Yes,
they have
yeah.
in common. Is it's
Yeah.
like dealing with the Middle East, but not dealing with the Middle East at all
From a white perspective for no reason.
Yeah, and just like making it like a really like monolith. Where did this come from? And who the fuck like sat down and was like, we need to make a brown people fairy tale, but fuck it up like and make it like fucking horrible. So I was like, what are the origins of Aladdin?
That's a cool, fun,
Crazy
time.
stories. Like for a long time, the credit for Aladdin was given to Antoine Galland, which
French?
also there's a lot of French lingo in this, so I'm gonna have you read it because like there's a lot of like
Nothing
crazy
good
words.
comes from France.
Who, was like a diplomat who served as a secretary to the French ambassador to Constantinople in the 17th century. Okay, so that's who's
Eurotrash.
Yeah, literally. So that's who, and he was the first European translator of
Les mille et une nuits, conte arabe.
which
1,000 nights of Arab tales.
literally. So that's like where this all started. Is basically like he's like
The fucking French, bro.
yeah. So he's like he apparently like the French were like really enamored with like Middle Eastern culture, whatever. So he's like translating a bunch of like documents. It started as a series of translations of an incomplete manuscript of a medieval Arabic story collection that dated back to the 14th century, which Aladdin was not part of. And so he's like putting out this manuscript, and people are like loving it. They're like eating it up, and there's like a huge public demand for it. So he's like, okay, fuck, like we need more stories, basically. And then I don't know, this is a random detail, but his publisher like was trying to like come up with more stories, so he inserted some like Turkish stories into like the collection, and Galland was like really mad about that. I don't know why. So
Sorry,
then,
and what time is this? What era
this is in the 17th century.
Okay, wow, okay.
So a long time ago. So he. Do you have another question?
No.
Oh, okay. Any questions? Please. Okay, so Galland gets mad at his publisher, and he goes to the apartment of his friend and rival. This is from a Time article. I don't know how they're friends and rivals.
It's Les Mis.
Literally, I'm like,
Okay. It's Jean Valjean.
Paul Lucas. So basically, bro.
literally.
No, literally. Paul Lucas, who is a tomb raider. So basically, he would like.
Ew.
Yes, bro. Yes. Okay. Who traveled back and forth between Paris and the Middle East to satisfy Louis XIV.
Yeah, fuck Louis XIV.
His taste for jewels and other precious objects from that
So
region.
stealing
Yeah.
from Middle Eastern tombs.
Exactly.
Okay.
So he would like go back and forth, and his apartment basically became like kind of this like.
Wait, Louis XIV?
Yes.
His apartment is crazy. Sorry,
Yes,
keep going.
yes. So
That's wild.
So yeah, so this is the guy who was like getting him all the shit.
Wow.
And so he was kind of like the spot to go for like shit like this, right? So, anyways,
This is also the plot of Indiana Jones.
oh my god,
The
really?
even the new one.
I haven't seen Indiana Jones.
You don't need to.
either.
No, big skip. Speaking of, that's the same exact thing as
That's
Aladdin.
crazy. Yeah. Well, they fucking love this shit, like thievery,
Yeah,
basically.
literally.
So that's where Galland first meets Hannah Diab, which I'm definitely saying like a white version of her name, but it's a Syrian storyteller from Aleppo. Diab would like accompany Lucas as like his travel companion and interpreter. So Lucas
Wow.
is the guy who's working for Louis XIV.
Got it. He's a thief.
Exactly. So he's kind of like the communicator.
So interesting.
I know. So they meet on March 25th, 1709.
Wow,
Okay,
great.
just some dates for you, bro. Hannah Diab tells Galland they have like a series of one-on-one meetings, and he like tells him this story of Aladdin, and people are like not sure where it came from. They're like not sure like there's no like trace of exactly where he like came up with this. And Galland never credited Diab in his publication of the Arabian Nights stories.
Sam Levinson.
Literally as fuck, literally just like stealing shit. Okay. So he like puts out Aladdin, and Diab wrote something of his own at the same time, which was like a travelogue in the mid 18th century. And in it, he like talks about telling Galland about the story of Aladdin.
Okay.
Okay. So you're with me. So
Yeah.
Galland puts out his own version
Yeah.
and he takes full credit for it.
Got
And,
it.
but we have this like collection that nobody has talked about until like 1993 or something, when a bunch of
okay.
scholars were like reading these documents. Anyways, And historian Jerome Lenton found the document, like found Diab's like travel log, like his diary basically, in 1993 in the Vatican's library. Okay, so that's where he found
How'd
it.
he get that?
I know, literally. I'm like, I don't know what it's doing there, but anyways. So in the memoir, Diab describes his own, like, his upbringing, like, from rags to riches, basically. Like, and it has a very similar, like, essence to, like, the trajectory of, like, wealth disparity into wealth that Aladdin has, right? So, and in this, like, diary, he's basically talking about, like, the extravagance of Versailles and, like, his experience, like, marveling at the jewels and the wealth and, like, all this stuff. And these descriptions are, like, super similar to the descriptions of, like, the palace that Aladdin visits and all this stuff. And so there's, like, a lot of historians that believe that Aladdin, like, might be actually, like, Diab's perspective, but, like, flipped on its head.
Interesting.
Like, Diab as, like, basically representing, like, this crossover between East and West. And so he's, like, telling this story, like, from his perspective, but, like, totally flipped around. Which is why it's, like, it actually, like, has the seeds for, like, a really interesting exploration of, like, East versus West if it's, like, from the right perspective. But then, like, this fucking Gallon guy gets his hands on it and just, like, completely bastardizes the whole thing. And all of a sudden we have this, like, really flat, like, caricature, cartoonish, like, stereotypes of people, when it's like, no, this is like what happens when we meet, like, people from different whatever, you know, like that, like, exploration. Apparently in, like, the diary, Diab was talking about how Lucas would, like, present him at Louis the 14th's courts. In, like, he insisted that he wear, like, a stereotypically Oriental fashion, like a long tunic, baggy pantaloons, a headscarf, like like big crazy shoes and shit like that. And he was forced to carry a cage containing 2 jerboas, which is like a desert rodent, for presentation to the Sultan of France. So they, like, made him, like, they, like, paraded him around as this, like, cartoon. Anyways, another detail, just, like, again, like, thinking about, like, the different perspectives and stuff like that, and, like, how it's, like, got flipped on its head and, like, fucked over. But apparently the day that Diab told the story of Aladdin to Galland, like, in the apartment, in Lucas's apartment, there were riots, like, in France.
The revolution?
1708 to 1709. Yeah, in the winter and spring. And
Les Mis time period.
as fuck, right? So, like,
That's crazy.
They're, like, all these riots, and Diab is, like, in his writing and stuff, is, like, very sensitive to these riots, and he's, like, talking about it, and he's empathizing with these people. And you see his observations of the solidarity among the Arabs who are in Paris, and, like, his exploration of that, and their, like, immersion into this culture, and, like, the way that there's this, like, network of people who are, like, helping each other out during this period of starvation, and, like, the way that he's, like, just able to, like, these scholars were just talking about how it's, like, there are very little in Galland's writings, like, of any sort of empathy, of any sort of, like, understanding of these riots and, like, what was going on and stuff like that.
Because he was close to Louis XIV, you think? Or is it a blindsidedness, or was it, like, political, like, alliance to the king? That's what I would think it would be, too.
I have no idea.
Also, stupidity, for sure.
Yeah. Well, just that, I mean, it's just, like, I think it's just, like, the tunnel vision that, like, people with privilege have, where it's, like, he's not, he doesn't have the vision to, like, empathize with these people, to observe the way that these communities intertwine, like, the nuances of that are just totally lacking. And that's, like, exactly what you see in Aladdin. It just, like, lacks a shit ton of nuance. Galland wasn't able to, like, create a character who, like, has the multi-dimensional like ability that Diab has. And the like, him empathizing with the riots that are going on is just, like, an example.
That's so interesting.
You know? And it's, like, I don't know, it's just a really interesting, like, the way that we just get this really diluted version of a perspective that is, like, so rich. And it's, like, you see that's why they, like, want to be, like, that's why Aladdin was, like, such a successful thing, is because it's got this, like, exotic perspective, but we just get this, like, really, like, like, fucking version of it. And there are, like, brown people who, like, actually, like, came up with the story, and we could have, imagine if we had seen, like, Diab's version of Aladdin, like,
that's so interesting.
That would be so fucking fascinating.
And his full version is, like, lost to time at this point.
I don't know. I think his memoir is probably still in the Vatican. There's, like, a great quote. It's like, Diab's memoir reveals a narrator adept at capturing this distinctive psychology of a young protagonist, as well as recognizing the kinds of injustices and opportunities that can transform the path of any youthful adventurer.
Wow.
You know, like it's just...
Because you can see how it got derived from that. It's like all the truth is like washed from it, but you can see like the traces of it a little bit.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like really... the multidimensionalness of it is like really interesting. Anyways, and then they just like talk about like Disney's the 1992 like animated musical version was originally supposed to be set in Baghdad, the capital of Iraq. But current events prompted filmmakers to switch gears. We kept it in Baghdad in our first treatment, and then the Gulf War happened, the first Gulf War. This is a quote from John Musker. Roy Disney said this can't be in Baghdad. So I took letters and did a jumbled anagram and came up with Agrabah. We came up with a few alternates. He also debunked rumors that Agrabah was post-apocalyptic, futuristic, or in some other time. Like it's supposed to be dead ass.
What?
And he says he just like jumbled them all together, just like Gallon. Like they just like jumbled this story together, and we're like, okay.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy, bro.
I know.
That's a really interesting history.
I know.
And the only history I saw about it was like, it's also based on, like, maybe it's a similar thing, but 1,000 Nights or something, and it's Persian.
Yeah,
It's a
I've seen this
Persian
too.
fairy tale
I've
or
seen this
something,
too.
but I didn't like know
well,
any more
that's
about
why
that.
they kind of like hypothesized that like this guy, this Diab, Hannah Diab, was like a kind of like a traveler of the Middle East, and so like there are origins of this story you can find in Syria, you can find it in Persia, like whatever. Like it's kind of like these tall tales, just like the rest of the things that fucking Gallon was translating. They're like all these Middle Eastern like ancient like tales, basically. And so this was like another one of those that just has like origins in a lot of different places. That apparently was like originally set in China, and then they like like crazy like
That is so fucking crazy.
I know.
It's crazy. And now it's like, and now we're sitting here today and like a new movie just came out of it like 5 years ago. That's the exact same story.
Yeah.
Like, that is so weird.
Yeah. And you know what I'm also, I'm like curious if you remember like the first time we all had dinner together, the very, very first time. Those kinds of like memories are like, they like burn into my brain, and I just like, they won't go away. It's just interesting to think about, I don't know, like a trajectory like that. And it's like, I don't know. I'm really curious to hear like how the transformation, or like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like to think about that being like 3 years ago, and to think about like the genuine questions that were being posed, and the inability to like now we sit here and we're like, oh my God, can you believe this?
I remember watching that movie all the time.
Yeah.
And like that was not a conversation that was had about how messed up it was.
Yeah.
And that is so like sad to me that there would be a way, there is a world in which like a younger version of myself, even 3 years ago or however long ago, would like watch that and not have like the gut reaction of like, oh my God, this is like grotesque.
Yeah.
Or just little children watching it. It's a kids movie. Like, and the indoctrination of kids being in the play of it. Like,
we did it in my like kids theater as well. And I like
we did it all the time.
Like parading little white kids around in like little like fucking like Arabian
literally
hats and stuff like that.
The indoctrination of like kids playing in this world that's like so weighted.
Yeah.
It is really sad.
Yeah.
And I don't know what how you like define the expansion of like, it's so silly to say like the realization of it. Being like,
I'm always just like so curious about that, because I'm like, I just feel like I've had so many conversations like that. And then it's like, okay, and now we like realize, and now we understand. But it's like, is it a revelation in the moment? Is it a revelation that like the next morning you wake up? Is it kind of like, oh, like, you know?
I
like,
think it's exactly like the pillar of white supremacy of like right to comfort. And it's like comforting to watch this like fun musical movie that you have no like critical consumption of because it doesn't affect you directly.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have like the right perspective in viewing it. And it's also, I think it is. I think it's like when someone, that's what I think also the power of like speaking up is why it's important, is because when someone vocalizes it, puts it into the cognitive dissonance, you're like, oh wait, these cartoons are really fucked up. And what they're saying is really fucked up if you listen to what they're saying. Like it's so like the white supremacist blinders of just like, this is what I'm being fed. And it's like, there's things that are fun and there's things that are colorful, whatever. Like, and when someone vocalizes it to you, like, what? Like, no, here's why this is a problem. Like, it's sad that has to be at that point, but it also is like, it takes that sometimes, which is also, I feel conflicted about it because I think it's so important, and I'm so grateful to have that moment of like someone saying something, but it is like, okay, do it yourself. Like read a book, figure it out.
Yeah.
But it does feel like a growth period. I don't know. Does that make
Yeah.
any sense?
Yeah, no, totally. I just, yeah.
And also it's like the cartoon. This is like, I've nannied for families who are playing this for their kids. Like, you see it. It's on Disney Plus.
I know. Yeah.
And
totally.
it's like, you know, this is really inappropriate. It's not exact. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it is the exact same as this fairy tale theater version where they're literally in brown face. Like,
it is.
It's the exact same thing.
It is, yeah.
It's just in a cartoon form that's made to be palatable to children. And so it's like, what's your problem with it? It's a kid's thing.
Yeah.
It's just like, that's exactly where there's a problem.
Yeah.
with it.
And like the way that we just like, we don't think in like the we as in like American culture, we don't think about the sanctity of cultures. We don't think about what it means to like adopt somebody else's something that's like different, that like everything is mine for the taking. And like, why would you even question that? And I remember like we talked about it one time and then we came back, Zach and I came back to have dinner like a second time at your guys' Airbnb, and it was like, we were still like trying to figure it out, you know? And there's like, I don't know. I think it's just like American entitlement, not like in this like it's just like
totally.
It's just like that everything is like we wouldn't. Why? How would we even think about that? Like somebody else would have something, and like it's not ours to like dip into, and
exactly.
You know,
it's also the wrongful American entitlement of like, I can just like put on these little costumes and it not mean anything.
And I just
like,
did it. Look, I just did it. And it's cute. And I remember having a conversation with like a different theater director, like in the Bay Area about the same thing. And he was like, well, what do we do if we can't find enough brown kids to do Aladdin for? Or what do we do if we can't find enough brown kids to do West Side Story for? Then like, are we supposed to not tell those stories? That like, there's just such a disconnect between like it's either gotta be like this one way or it's like,
yeah, what's the alternative other than what we've been doing?
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna force myself into this corner because again, like there's like it's like the blinders that you're like it's like there's no other way to think about it.
Because it doesn't affect me, so I can get by doing it. So why would I change my motives?
Right.
Because
and like that just sounds
that.
really hard.
Yeah.
Like it's not.
No.
I don't know. And that's why I'm like curious about like the psychology and like the way that it like feels. And I definitely have had moments like that too, where you're like unlearning something or like realizing something. And I'm always just like curious, like how do we like propel that momentum?
Yeah.
How does then that one conversation, how can that like then like turn into like foot on the gas, pedal to the metal?
Yeah. Consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like exponentially like having those revelations, you know, versus like, okay, so we talk about Aladdin, check. And then we talk about like fucking, you know,
how that like bleeds into everything else.
Yeah.
Well, that's also what's happening too. Is like literally Zootopia is a popular children's movie, and that has like that's another. It's the same thing. It's not the same thing. It's the same thing of like, why aren't we talking about how this is weird as fuck?
Yeah.
Like we're just like down for this propaganda ass movie for no reason. Like it's. I think it's exactly what you're saying of like, how do you see something and not have a visceral reaction to that as like a white person? And it's exactly that. It's the white supremacist propaganda of like, this doesn't affect me. This is a fun thing for me to steal for a second to enjoy, and then I'll throw it away whenever I'm done. Not like thinking about how that affects other people and how it affects like the world as a greater piece. And it's really sad. Like, it's so sad to think about how long you spend in your life of like not awake, like literally wake up and talk about it and have it like exactly what you're saying, like pedal to the metal and talk about it way more and stuff.
Yeah.
And even like you saying the background of it, like we would literally never know that about, what was their name?
Hannah Diab.
Hannah Diab.
I should look up like how to say it.
I don't know
Like,
why-
definitely, I'm saying like her name's Hannah.
It's
Also,
she, her pronouns?
I don't think it's a girl. I'm pretty sure it's a guy.
Okay, I was flipping in my imagination.
I know, because Hannah, but I think it's a guy.
Okay, cool.
Anyways, yeah.
We should try to find their version.
Yeah.
You don't think it's fine?
Exists.
We won't be able to find it. Let's go to the
We
Vatican.
can look. No, literally, we should go to the Vatican and like look into their memoir.
Yeah. No, and also that made me think about, there's this quote, Ousmane Sembane is a African filmmaker, and one of his quotes is like, why would I cater my audiences to Europe?
Est-ce que vos films sont bien compris en Europe?
Non, mais mettons-nous bien ça dans la tête. Moi, l'Europe n'est pas mon centre. L'Europe est une périphérie de l'Afrique. Pourquoi voulez-vous que je sois comme le tournesol qui tourne autour du soleil? Je suis moi-même le soleil.
It's talking about like the heart of his piece and how it's like stolen by white filmmakers and all these things too. And that's what it feels like too. It's like, where are you growing towards? Like, where is your blinders focused on? And if it's on like white supremacist America, then of course you're gonna like watch Aladdin and not have a critical commentary on it.
Yeah. But then like, I guess my question is, but then what do you do?
Yeah.
Where do you focus your sunflower?
Yeah, I think it's exactly that. I think it's like what I like about the fairy question of it all too is like so often the first thing is like, oh, whatever Britannica says, it comes from Christianity or something. And like a few years ago, I would have been like, okay, I put that in my school report, whatever. But it's like just taking the extra energy and time to be like, okay, I'm reprogramming what I've been programmed to do. Exactly. And be like, okay, let me focus my energy on truth and not propaganda.
And that like intentional like search.
And it's like you have to actively be doing that all the time, and that's like the
and
bare minimum, but it's also like hard to do sometimes, and it's
especially when you like haven't had to like do that before, and then all of a sudden you're like, what is I'm supposed to put in all this extra labor like all the time, like in terms of everything. It's like, I don't know. I think that would be when everything has been catered to like your perspective for your entire life. It's like, I don't know. That's where I feel like we like just run in. It's so easy to run into so much stagnation because it has to be such like a intentional. I don't know, like pursuit.
It's a pursuit. That's a good word for it. It's like an active
But then it's also
verb.
like, how do you, and I think that's a really interesting conversation to have on the pod too, and like just something to think about, but it's like, how do you orient that pursuit? Like that's what I meant about like, where does your sunflower turn? Because for me, like a big like reorientation for me has been like, okay, my roots and my lineage. And I'm like, okay, that's where my sunflower goes. That's where that's where my heart lives. That's what I am able to claim. Like, you know, which is a really fucking reckoning in and of itself. But I think about all my white friends and like in these conversations and stuff. And when we're talking about like, whose stories to tell and these sorts of things, it's like, okay, but how do we actually talk about it? Because actually, like, what are you supposed to do? And like, actually, what does that look like? Instead of just being like, okay, no, but yeah, you're right. Like the brown people are right. Because like, duh.
Yeah, duh.
But, you know, but then what?
That's I think it's like the lack of culture is also like the biggest venom.
That's why they're leeching onto
why
everything.
This is happening. Like that's why you watch it and not think about it in any depth array, because culture has no value to me. I'm not deeply affected when someone steals my culture because I have none. It's that is, I think when you vocalize the disconnect in that, I mean, like when you realize that cultures have so much value and beauty and weight, and it's like they're so serious that it's like, oh, as a white person, you don't think about that wrongfully because you're not raised with it in America. I think that is a big part of the disconnect too. And so it's also me reminding myself of like, this is not how everyone's experience is at all. Like, duh. But that I think is exactly what you're saying. It's the sunflower. It's exactly that. Like, where is it growing towards? And if it's not growing towards any culture, then it's like, okay, are you like stealing from other cultures, or are you like witnessing and seeing how you can do better and seeing how you can like learn from them and grow with them, but not steal and fucking slaughter in terms of like media and everything and appropriation and I feel like that is a really interesting that's kind of the core of it.
It totally is, and it's like, but it's I just am always thinking about how are you supposed to do that?
Yeah, what's the action item?
Not like an action item, like go to like Google right now.
No, it's
but like actually, how are you supposed to do that when that very fact is the antithesis of what white American culture is? So then it's like, okay, all these like white people, like we're like all waking up, but our entire existence and like waking moments are to steal and appropriate. That is the fabric of this nation. So then like what? So then where the fuck is this? Like, where is the sunflower pointing? Like, that's why I'm like dead ass. Like,
I think it's exactly what you're saying about like the weight of vocalizing things too, even. And like, it is such a minimum, it's the bare minimum, absolutely. But it is like, and that's why I feel so grateful to you and like moments like this and everything you've done. We don't like keep this. But just
brown people, black people.
Exactly.
Talking.
Just like the gratitude for that and like listening, obviously. And not having the reaction of like, but that's not what I whatever. Not having that, and it's the vocalization of it, the conversation that is happening with it, I think is like so it's the first thing you do, like it's the first step, but it's an active pursuit of that conversation, and it's an active like shoehorning in of that conversation in places that it feels
and
uncomfortable.
Like learning how to have those conversations when like somebody else isn't inserting it, when
it's
like
not the perfect moment.
Because it's like I feel like there's one thing that like white people hate to do. It's like talk about like real shit.
Be uncomfortable.
Like that's the whole
Totally.
like niceness
That's the
culture.
Exactly.
It's like let's all just be fake and like pretend and like. Oh my God, I just feel like I witnessed this so much in like the performance of femininity in terms of like that it just feels like such a pillar of like white culture is like to just perform and hold together, like the nuclear family of it all, like just to like perform.
Absolutely.
And it's like, okay, if you sat down and we all actually had a dead ass conversation right now, you would say that you're unhappy. You would say that you're like, can we actually, but like,
no,
that is that's what like holds it all together. And that's why we're all of a sudden we're like, oh no, we all hate Biden, but we were too scared to actually talk about it and organize and like actually come to any conclusions about anything.
And now we're way fucking late.
Literally. We're like, uh-oh. But like also it's like, we're still not gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
You know? So anyways, that's just like.
No, but I think it's also, it's in the whatever, seemingly frivolous stuff too. That exactly Aladdin. It's like that holds so much fucking weight. Like it's not a lighthearted thing. Yeah. Also, so it's having the research of like, okay, here's where it comes from. Here's how it affects people. Here's how it changes things. And it's also like, it's just the fucking Disney like thing in the beginning of like, this is inappropriate, but we're not going to do anything about it, and we're also going to give money to Israel. And so it's just like an active, and also it's hard. It's the same thing as like being like a child in white America too, where it's like you're so focused on your immediate
La-di-da.
Exactly. It's a fucking like
I
don't know. Fairy world is too magical. It's like like not anything important is happening at all, and so it's like
And how would you, it's just crazy to think, it's exactly what you're saying though, like that makes so much sense where it's like to not have any gravity in terms of like what does culture mean, so it's like that would never like ring in your mind to be like, oh, like
this
maybe like maybe we shouldn't, because all of our shit is so like bland.
Well, it's, and again, like I keep bringing up the Kardashians, but it's the exact same thing too.
Exactly.
Where it's like these pillars of this happening is all, like we're seeing it happen on like the largest scale too, of like Kylie's literally wearing a fucking hijab, and it's like while also giving money to Israel. And
same
it's
with
like,
Sabrina Carpenter, same with everybody. It's so like cunt now.
Yeah, it's the same exact shit.
When it's like you won't ride for these fucking people, and they invented it, and also you made fun of them 4 years ago, and you're still fucking like treating them like fucking shit, and they still don't have any fucking rights in this country. But like it's cunt, so we'll put it on.
Carlos, turn her ass up,
bitch. Like literally, like stand on fucking business. It's so flip floppy. The fucking fake. It's so. It's really
it's so vile. And
stand on something. Like if you hate us, then fucking hate us. Put the fluffy eyebrows away. Put the fucking hijabs away. Put the self tanner away.
Yeah.
If you hate us, then fucking hate us. It's like so flip floppy.
That's really
fucking pisses me off.
That's
like,
really
bro. And now like, okay, all these fucking black and brown people have so much drama, but like, oh my god, like cute new outfit, like cute new trend, like the fucking Parisian thing that was like, it's like literally a sari.
Yeah, literally.
Like, bro, you're dumb. You look dumb.
So dumb.
Anyways,
no facts.
Which is why I'm like, but I don't know.
But and it's like we're seeing this like going to the 80s and seeing this version of people in brown face doing this. Tim Burton doing this. Also, we can talk about Tim Burton's racist ass for a whole.
I don't know any of that.
Okay, do we do that, Loki?
We can if you want.
Okay, again, the devil's advocate, the white supremacist. Okay, so Tim Burton has like not used people of color in like any of his work ever. Like a handful, like minor roles.
What? Same with Wes Anderson.
Exactly.
Same with like all these people. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Tim Burton has said like the quotes he said is like, "There's a time for that, and there's not." Whatever. Like fucked up crazy. There's more visceral quotes that I like will not be speaking about. But like if you look into Tim Burton making racist statements, you will find some, for sure, obviously. But like, and the white film bro like retort is like, well, yeah, but he like uses the same cast. Like he uses like Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter over and over again, and it's like, okay, but if you're like, why do you literally think for 1 second about like why you like using the same white people over and over again? Like your favorite people are all white people? Okay, like same exact shit.
Yeah.
And I think
snooze fest.
Literally, it's like, what?
I'm bored.
Boring.
I'm bored.
It's really, no, but it's, and it's, he's one of the major, Wes Anderson, and then Tim Burton, and then Christopher Nolan. It's like, they're all like the major directors of our time.
Like all these people. Dude, literally.
They're all, everything, like, it's just the...
But then imagine me saying that. Imagine we're watching Licorice Pizza 2 years ago.
Fact.
Year and a half ago. How long ago was it? It was like, 2 years ago. I was like, this is boring. And imagine like somebody's fighting you on that. Somebody's genuinely, their feelings are hurt. Again, we can cut this. Like I know I'm like airing out everybody's dirty laundry.
We can go back and forth.
I'm like, I've been holding on to these ones, and now we're talking about Aladdin. No, but it's like, you're arguing, like, and then I have to feel bad. The next day I spent like 3 hours in therapy, like with the guilt and the and the this, but the anger and the this, and it's like, okay, and then 6 months later, it's just like, okay, now you all agree.
Yeah, because someone's threatened that it's not what's for them isn't what people want.
And
anymore.
I quote, so everything Meg and I are gonna be in is gonna be boring?
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
That's
and you were
insane.
sitting at the counter.
Yeah, that's not good.
It's just like, but then...
It's the exact blinders of it. It's like...
Yeah. My feelings,
Exactly.
my feelings.
Feeling bad for yourself for no fucking reason. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, Tim Burton movies exist.
Yeah.
Like,
And I also, like, I have so much, like... First of all, I know that this happens to me too, so I hate, like, I like really tried to, like, because I love to be right and I love to just like stand and be like, nah, nah, nah. Like, I really have a lot of like empathy and like, I also think it's important to like let people grow and to like, how do you sit in that gray area of like, resentment and like you're 20 fucking whatever years old, like you should fucking know this, but also like sitting in like why didn't you or whatever is like not productive either, you know? And it's like a really,
that's interesting.
I don't know. That's why I was like posing the question of like the psychology of it, because I feel like that's a more productive thing than like.
But I feel like, I think it puts you in a different seat to say the why didn't you? That's like not your job to say that. I think that's the individual's job to say that. And so it's like unfair to put you in the position to have to say, why didn't you do this? Like that should be a self-reflection thing.
Yeah, that's true.
So I feel like that's why it feels wrong. I think it's the right move for the individual at hand.
Well,
I think it's not fair to put that onto you to be that person.
Yeah.
But especially in that like diction of it. But I think that is a question that should be actively had.
Yeah. Because I think that's like an important part of the conversation is like, you know, like as a collective, we think about like, okay, we're like moving half an inch forward. Like now we're like having these conversations, but like, what about accountability? What about how do we like track how we ended up so backwards to then like be able to hold ourselves accountable now for how we still are backwards? And like, I feel like that's a piece that like gets missed a lot. You know?
It's the like moving on from it and like the reconciliation of it, like you were right, we were wrong type of thing. And then the next step is like, okay, next time this exact moment is like mental note, next time Shania says, hey, this movie is boring because there's only white people in it. It's like, okay, this is boring. Let's watch something better.
Like, don't get mad at her for it.
No, literally, it's like, okay, yes, and like, let's move on kind of thing. Like, And if you're playing catch up, which like don't be playing catch up, like try to be thinking 10 steps ahead. And if you find yourself in the moment of playing catch up, like keep it to your fucking self and figure it out on your own kind of thing. I feel like don't be like, what? Why, mom? Why can't I do that? Kind of thing. Like I think that's a big active like dumb like white person thing of being like, okay, it's also not your job to do that. And I feel so whatever. Yeah,
it's such an interesting like gray area too of like the like. Just like don't put it on like I just feel like it's so interesting because it's like don't put it on these people, but also like you guys weren't gonna come to these conclusions by yourself.
That's so true. And like even I was thinking about this like before we came.
And also when you do, then it's like, oh, but that's not the right direction. Oh, but you're so close. But like I don't want all that. Like,
but even like when I knew we were gonna talk about like Aladdin, I wanted to have a conversation with you, just being like. Because I never wanted the tone to be like, okay, but like, what do you want to do about it? Like, tell me what I need to do. Like, that's not at all what I want to be asking of you. But what I do want is like for you to feel as supported as you can and as like helped in any way that I can help and like feel as comfortable as possible too. So it's like, it's the question of like, what can I do? Is so falsified and that's not the right question to be asking. And it's like how do you find the diction of like what is the question to be asking? Like how can I help you feel more comfortable, but like I'm not actually asking you to tell me what to do. It's like I just want to make it
because the ask is like labor intensive in and of itself.
Exactly. You're like what? Like, I don't fucking know. Like
I think it's fine to talk about it. Like I don't know. Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I've said this to the boys like many times. I think it's like if you come with your own like bag full of like information, full of like
your toolkit.
Yeah, like if you actually have some like business to stand on, then like the labor won't be as intensive for like the other person involved, you know? Like instead of being like, what do you think? It's like, okay, no, let me actually go dig. And that's going to be a lot of labor, but that's like you actually like putting in some work to be like, okay, how do I like unpack this? And maybe you would have remembered this anecdote and then you would have been able to like come into the conversation with like accountability and not have me pose the question and be like, bah, 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 bah.
No, totally.
You know, to be able to like, and like that's what I say to them about like feminism and shit like that. It's like we can't come down as hard on you if you actually have some business to stand on. The reason you just get crushed under all of these like conversations is because you're not taking it upon yourself to know anything. Yeah. If you actually sat there and knew some shit, then we could have a real conversation about this rather than like you just getting like shat on.
No, totally.
You know?
And I feel like it's less of like a question, more of like a statement of like, I'm here in any way I can.
Exactly.
And like and also like actively, like you said, standing on business and like showing how you the foreground to lay so you feel comfortable to say what you want to say whenever you want to say it. Yeah. Like it's like the active action work done for this conversation that's not like, what do you want me to do as your white friend? It's
exactly.
Making sure that there's like foundation laid and like also all for the future too, obviously.
To like make up for like what you were saying, like to make up for the catch up.
Yeah,
like
the catch-up is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
But it's like, it's so fucking easy. It's like, that's what you should be, like, this is the easiest possible thing to do because it's what needs to happen. Like, this is what my heart knows to be true, and this is what my brain knows to be true, and it's like, this is so fucking easy because this is just like, the truth.
Yeah, and honestly, it's not easy. It's really hard. But the way I think about it is, it's like the labor that you're like asked to put in to like play catch up is like comes from. It doesn't even make up for the amount of money extra you'll make and the amount of extra time you'll have and the way that your life has just been like exponentially, like, you know, those cushions. You're like making up for those cushions by like being like, okay, I have to like read a little bit more. Yeah. And I also feel really interesting in this conversation where we're talking about like stealing from people and like all this stuff. I keep saying stand on business, and that's like fucking AAVE. Like I literally took that from Black women. Totally. And this is, that's like, I don't know. It's important to like have like real time, like, that's like a whole other conversation. We could have a whole other episode on like the way that internet slang has just like homogenized everything. But I think regardless, it's important to like acknowledge like the roots of that and the fact that like Black women, Black trans women came up with everything. In vocalizing it, then we're like able to like metabolize it. And now I'm able, like, since I've said it out loud and held myself accountable, now I feel like we're able to be like, okay, actually this is something I need to look into more. Rather than like, if you don't say anything, then it just like remains, you know, it just is like
the passivity.
Exactly. Instead of being like, okay, no, actually this is like a good reminder. Like I need to look into this and I need to like actually like explore and figure out what like my integrity tells me to do about this.
And call myself and others out when it happens in the future.
Like I'm doing this,
Like passivity is so violent. And that's the biggest like white supremacist pillar that it's like,
I'm not doing anything.
That's the hardest one to dismantle because it's also like tied on being a woman too sometimes, but it's like the passivity.
Right? That's why white women are like so horrifying because they're like, because they're like, no, but I get it. No, but like, you know, so then there's so much that it's like, okay, like we're on the same, but like,
and it could go south so fast.
yeah. Yeah, totally.
But I think that's like dismantling the passivity and letting your sunflower grow.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And be like, okay, like we have to sit in the discomfort.
Yeah.
You know, which is like, fucked, but
it is fucked.
We have to do it.
Yeah. And we don't have to keep this. I just want to thank you. Like, I think it's really important. And like, I feel like, is there a place for thanks in these spaces? Because I feel it being weird, the thanking. But you know, like the moment gratitude for like this conversation being driven by you and having this conversation, like allowing me to be a part of this conversation with you. Like it feels so weird to be like, thank you for that. Yeah. And like I will take it.
I know, it's such a weird thing.
Like it's so odd, but like I truly feel that way. And I think it's important also to like recognize the efforts that you put. Yeah. All the time, every day. And I think that's important too, but it also is like feels weird sometimes.
I think like I love a good acknowledgement because especially in earlier, like when I was a little bit younger having these conversations, it's surrounded with a lot of like insecurity and like, oh, I feel kind of bad and stuff like that. So it's like really helpful to have like a little validation at the end. But I also like what I always think about is like, the thanks gets to exist in like tangible form.
Yeah, show
like
it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like fucking, you know.
Yeah.
Like there are you can like know the thanks and then like show it.
No, that's so true.
You
Do you
know?
feel like yes. And do you feel like vocalizing it is beneficial in any regard?
I think so. I think
Okay.
just like
At least
don't
for,
be
like,
weird about it.
I know it's like okay. Oh
You're
fuck.
like thinking of you're like Drew Barrymore on the couch with Kamala Harris. You're like, we need you to be
Literally, we
no.
need you. Okay, wait,
exactly,
actually-
which is why I'm like, I know. That's exactly what we're like.
Kamala is crazy.
It's crazy. But that's
I
why it's like
know.
exactly like all the white ladies like, need to
feels like-
rally
that's what I'm
together.
saying. When I'm thanking you for this right now, I
That's
feel
how
like a
it
white
feels.
lady.
Yeah.
I'm like I'm being such a white lady right now.
Yeah, and you are.
And I am.
You are, and you are. Yeah. And it's also like, and that's okay because pretending to not be a white lady, you're like
Is it
Adele
worse?
in like exactly her like crazy like
the Kardashians.
exactly. So it's like also that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
But also you can get together with the rest of the white ladies and be like, this is how we like say things. Or you get together with the rest of the white ladies and you're like, we need to pay up, you know? Like we need to like put some fucking money in these bitches' pockets. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know my Venmo.
Where's my Venmo?
I'm
I'm
like,
gonna Venmo you
bro.
for gas right now. I'll Venmo you for gas.
No, literally. But you know, like
no.
that's the shit. Don't fucking. She won't. She's not gonna be.
I will. I'll
No,
Venmo you
no. 50. Now you have to monetize this conversation. This conversation was worth
Like
50.
anything more than like 50 feels a little like over the top. No, not enough. Anything over like 2K feels over the top.
Yeah,
I'm talking to Shania. I forgot.
Literally,
I was
I'm like,
anything under like a
50
K is like
bucks?
no.
Right. That's disrespectful.
Yeah. I'm gonna get my money up. And I'll
I'm
pay you.
excited. I'm like, and
I'll
in
work on it.
conclusion, like, give me money.
Literally, pay up. That's facts.
yeah.
And it's show, don't tell.
Bro, pay the black people in your life. That's what I'm saying, bro. Don't pay me. Like, do we have like? I think we're done.
I know we have to be done, but I'm really glad that went where it went.
Me
Especially
too.
also, you killed that fairy question.
Oh my God,
the background.
Aladdin?
Yeah,
yeah,
that was
that's
the fairy
fun. I'm
question.
glad that we like were able to.
That was perfect.
Use that. I always get nervous when I'm like reading from my phone, but I'll put the article down below. You guys can read it yourself too. I'm like, if I fuck anything up, I'm like Trump. I'm spreading misinformation. I'm like false news right now.
The sentiment is there. And
Yeah.
I guess like ending these conversations in like a way that's like because you should be having these conversations with people you love all the
Exactly,
time,
all
and it's
the
like
time.
needs to be like with
get
love
in the
and
messy
thanks.
shit. Look
Yeah.
at us, and now we're gonna go drink some boba. Like it's
What? I had boba today already.
Should we-
I'll
Oh.
get two for you.
So we're not gonna get boba.
On me.
Meg's gonna go buy me some boba.
Okay, bad.
That's fire. Okay, cheers. Shout out to the new mics. Shout out to Carlos. Boom. Are we done?
we didn't do anything silly. We normally do something crazy.
I know. What do we do?
Whatever. Wait,
I
what
know,
the
do you have,
fuck
like,
is
a
the frog
joke or
song?
something?
The frog song that I have a joke.
He sings.
The frog song, he sings. He's like, I'm the frog. You know what I'm talking about? No. He's like, and I'm gonna get a kiss at the well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We'll play that out.
I don't know if that's free copyright. He's crazy. His big old belly.
Mwah.